Hi, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Sisters Interview. I'm Ashaksi, and this is my sister, Sarifkin. And we do this weekly interview series. We started it off wanting to interview the Lions of An Tir, and we strayed a bit from that. But tonight we have one of our favorite Lions of An Tir, ban-Iarla, Daedin Mackay.
Hi, everybody. Ladies, thanks so much for having me. I'm really glad to be here.
We're super excited to have you. So we usually start these off by asking you what your SCA origin story is. How did you find the SCA? What attracted you to it?
Well, much like your own story, it was my sister, Tira, who got me in. But that is a little early, so let's start at the very beginning. So this would have been back in, I think it was probably 78 or 79, maybe. And she, of course, we share a lot of interests in history and a lot of the same literature. And she's like, I heard about this club and they do medieval stuff. Oh my God, we got to do it. We got to do it. And I'm like, hell yes, we'll do it. Come on, let's go. So we went, but it was an arts night here in Glamere. And so it was just like kind of project night.
Oh.
And we were like, this is not exactly our medieval reenactment fantasy. So we were like, well, they're nice. It was very nice, right? And then we just kind of went off. And she started college, and then shortly after that, I started college, and I went over to Washington State. So there I am at Washington State, and my sister, you may or may not know, is an opera singer. So we did a lot of music growing up, right? And so she was actually at BYU on a full music scholarship, bless her heart, right? And I was singing, kind of. I did a lot of singing in high school. And then when I got to college, I kind of settled in. And but we'd done a lot of music in high school and prior to that. And I met up with a guy that I'd been in choir with. So he's like, oh my God, there's this medieval club where they do all this stuff and you gotta go. And I was like, okay, we'll give it another shot, right? So I went over they were having, and I wish I could tell you what event it is. Now, if Morgana's in the chat, she'll be able to tell you because she knows everything. She's my living memory. Between her and Sven and Marco, they know all the stuff that I forget, right? So I think it might have been a lentil war, or I don't remember really. But anyway, it was over at the U of I in the soccer field. Well, I'd kind of talked to a couple people beforehand, including Morgana, and I'd sort of gotten a sort of quasi costume, you know how it is, everybody's first costume. Mine was a Halloween costume that I turned around backwards with a cloak on.
Nice.
Right, just so you know. And so they had this like a war, and then that night they had a feast. And I thought, well, I don't really have anything that I can wear at the war, and also I'm not really sure if I want to kind of commit to that. Maybe I won't be able to run away if I don't like it. So we'll just kind of show up there. So I just kind of drove up and watched from the edge, and then this friend of mine and I went to the feast that night. Girls, hook, line, and sinker. I was done. I'm sitting there next to my friend, and the door opens up, and in walks this couple. They looked like a Holbein painting or something, although a little earlier, but they were wearing these hooplins, matching hooplins. And he was tall, dark, extraordinarily handsome. And she just had this beautiful mane of hair, extraordinarily beautiful woman, Daedin and Catriona. So they walked in, and I was just like, oh, holy cow, sign me up, I'm in. And that whole event was full of a lot of magic. I met Morgana for the first time. I met Baron Sir Balinor, who fought for me for a number of years and continues to be my very, very dearest friend. And a bunch of the guys from the Shire of Blue Mountain, I think at the time. Okay, I'm going, yeah, Blue Mountain, then Roskilde, now Lions March. So it was Blue Mountain at the time. And I met the de Montels, I met Aaron de Montel, who was the seneschal of Wastekeep, and he was just so instrumental in my early service life. Met a bunch of wonderful people from Wildsmere, right? So it was the kind of the typical Inlands love fest that it always is over there. And I'm sitting there and, we're having dinner, and I'd gotten these crappy kind of quasi medieval sort of dishes at the thrift store, and and a huge thing of wine. And I mean, we're trying to kind of keep my mouth shut and keep my eyes open and stuff, and looking around, and people are very nice, and there's this guy sitting next to me who apparently is from out of town, and across from him is somebody that's another guy is sitting across from him, and they're very like, they obviously have some sort of relationship, right? Like, Squire came up in the conversation. It was like, oh, okay, so that's a thing. And both super friendly, right? Real nice. And come to find out, that would have been Torgal and Dak right there at my very first event. So it was like two of the finest men I've ever known right there. Boom, event number one. In fact, a whole room full of people that were just like completely part of my early experience. So man, after that, I was going to fight practices, although I didn't really fight very much. I tried a little bit of it. I was going to events all the time, as much as I could. The seneschal at the time, I think just Sir, but maybe Baron, and also maybe Viscount, I'm not really sure. Wulstan Thorelson, he moved back over to the east and had adventures over there, but I'm not quite sure what all he ended up doing. He was the seneschal of the group at the time. And that boy, he glommed onto me. He's like, you're going to be the next seneschal. You better sit down and learn everything there is about it. And I thought,
Oh my.
what? And he's like, you're organized and you're not a freak. Come on, let's go. And so he totally recruited me. And I don't know, Morgana will know. Of course, like I said, she's the keeper of all the knowledge, but I think I was seneschal in 4 months, 6 months, something like that.
Wow.
I know, that jerk. What a jerk, man. But when you're in a shire of a dozen people or less, and most of them are college students, it's like, you can't fool around with recruiting. You got to get people in and get them hooked in, get them doing the thing, and that's actually not so much of a joke. In Lions March, that's how things went, which is why we managed to cycle through so many people who became really central in An Tir, who we just grabbed onto and said, you're going to play with us and you're going to take 3 jobs, and we're going to teach you everything right now. So that was how you did it over there, went with the talent that you had. So that's my start. And I hit the ground running, and I didn't look back.
And you guys knew how to have a good time, right?
Oh man. Well, some would say that perhaps our shire was renowned for having perhaps a little too good of a time, but we did. And they were very nice. I mean, everybody was very nice. The de Montels especially, and all the other Wastekeep folk were just so great and so patient and just so genuinely nice to us. And same thing up in Wildsmere and out in Vulcanfeld, because that was it. It was just the 4 groups at the time. And so, yeah, they just let us do our thing. They, tried to help us figure out what we loved doing, and they encouraged us to do it, and they taught us new things, and it was amazing. It was great.
How long did you fight for? I never knew you fought.
Oh, I don't know. Until I decided that sweating in leather and padding was gross, which took, I don't know, 3 times, 4 times. That's, the problem that we had is that being a fairly robustly built female, I couldn't get chest armor that would work.
We've come a long way in that department.
Yes, we have come a long way. And although I have to tell you, Miles and Rolf and the Vulcanfeld boys, they made me a suit of armor with a helmet. The only thing I didn't have was a chest plate. And so, I mean, I fooled around with it, but I just decided I didn't feel I could get into something that was really going to work for me. And also, sweating and padding and leather is gross. And so I decided, well, I'll just be a cheerleader. So I mean, I tried to make an effort to find out about fighting and learn about fighting so that I could understand what I was looking at, but my career was brief and inglorious.
Yeah, well,
Whatever.
I think the worst part about fighting is smelling like your helmet. So I can relate.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you're out in the wilds of Eastern Washington, the shower opportunities are pretty limited. And
Yes,
getting back home in the very, very small car that I had with the very, very lot of people stuffed into it, the whole smelling thing. But yeah, I don't know. It just was, you know, it was interesting, but it wasn't interesting enough. It didn't really grab me.
that's cool.
Yeah.
But other things did.
Well, I can tell you, and there probably is a pile of affidavits somewhere that will swear to the fact that costuming was something that took me a really long time to do. We'll be we'll be looking at pictures later, and I'll have some comments about that. Although I got better, and you know, I guess the biggest thing for me, I've had a, you know, I'm interested in a lot of stuff and I like trying a lot of stuff, but really what it came down to, and this is something that started early and persisted all the way through, which is, I guess the thing that really, really cranks me up is facilitating other people doing their thing. You know, it's like if I can go out and, you know, rent a thing or set up a thing or do a spreadsheet or make some phone calls or submit some paperwork and then watch somebody else go out there and, you know, get their geek on. I will totally sit there and watch them get their geek on, but what I'm happy about is that they didn't have to think about all that admin geek stuff that I do. That's it, man. I mean, having said that, history, of course. I love all pieces of history. I love that we get to that we really do get to reenact. I mean, sometimes we recreate, but a lot of times we actually reenact, and that just is so amazing. And to be able to hang out with fellow geeks, nothing wrong with that. So yeah.
Lau says, show us the amber.
Which amber? Because I only have this on.
I know you have a lot more than that, though.
I do. Yeah, I do. Actually, I mean,
like just make yourself.
I know it's like the Mr. T thing. I just don't have the neck for it because I'm kind of out of practice, you know. It's like why I don't have my medallions on because I thought I don't want to do it. So it's amber light, but this one's nice.
Well, I have to say, as a new person coming into the SCA, you made quite an impression with just your presence. Like, not only do you have a big personality, but you dress the part, and the amber was a big part of that. I mean, you looked every inch the ban-Iarla.
Oh, thank you. Well, you know, Celtic costuming in itself, like everyday wear, is not really, Celtic clothing is not really, I mean, other than you can jazz it up with plaid, which I love to do. But there's also so little out there to really tell us what we actually should be wearing that I tend to go with pretty simple clothes and then jazz it up with all kinds of bling because I'm a raven. I love that stuff. And I have super talented friends who make me beautiful things. So yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, it's absolutely 100% true.
Thanks.
Yeah, same for me.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's like, oh, check that out. Okay. Go get some amber.
Woo!
Stuff on.
As everyone should. Everyone. Amber up, babies.
Yep.
So, you met Jack, who ended up fighting for you, and
yeah, that was a little later on, but yeah.
But you met that first event, which is
we did, yeah, which was pretty crazy. I mean, when I look back on it, I remember most of the people in the room that night, because most of them ended up being like people who had a huge influence on me, or also people that really inspired me, people I spent a lot of time with over, the years. Pretty exceptional. It was a pretty mountaintop moment. So yeah,
It's so cool.
I know, it's cool.
That's cool.
So do you remember, I'm skipping ahead. I'm stuck on the DAC button right now. Do you remember what,
The stories about Dad.
well, I wasn't gonna go there, but do you remember who set you guys up? Who as
Um,
and fighter?
no, so I didn't really know, until he actually asked me. I didn't really know that I'd been set up. I I suspect I know who it was, but I'm not sure 100%. I remember vaguely being told by the person but I also had been drinking at the time, so I'm not sure if I 100% trust my memory. I'm pretty sure I know who it was, but it has not been widely disclosed. You'd have to ask Dak. I know when he interviewed, he didn't fess up who it was. A little sneak.
Yeah.
But yeah, so do you want to hear the story of that?
Yes, please.
By the way, girls, you have to shut me down because I'll just tell stories all night.
We're here for that.
So at the time, this is back when I was at WSU, and he was at school at the U, and he was working at the IGA in the U district, I think. And I was working, I was volunteering at the radio station at WSU. And so I just come off, I don't remember if it was a studio session or if it was if I was actually on air, whatever. I was at the Edward R. Murrow School of Broadcast. And I came back to our place, and there was a note on the whiteboard from my roommate. Dak called, and I thought, what? What the hell, man? Because let's back up. So I live here now in Glamere, and I lived here with my parents on summer breaks, right? So after I met Dak and Torgel, I came back home, and Wolfston and Vlad were living in Federal Way, I think, or something, and they're like, we got to go up to fight practice. And so we went up to the East Lake Bridge practice with the Wednesday practice, and we were up there every week. And since I kind of met Dak and Torgel, I got to meet, the people around them, and we would go over to people's houses after practice and have a few beers, or we'd go to the pizza place. I don't remember what pizza, it was a pizza place east of the practice. Somebody else will have to remember what the place was. And so, I mean, we had gotten to know each other socially. So it wasn't like it was like who, so it wasn't quite like Dak who, but it was still kind of like, huh. Because here's another story, ladies. At the time, because the field was quite a bit more reduced than it is in Crown now, you generally had a pretty good notion of who was sort of on their game and who had a desire and who was doing well and who wasn't hurt and who, had sort of their life arranged in a way where they could win. And he was definitely one of the favored fighters for that crown. So when he called up, he called, and I called him back, and I don't remember if, what I recall is that he gave me his work number and he had to take a break or something and call me back or something like that. That's what I recall. And I vaguely remember sitting in my apartment going, what? What is this all about, right? And then he gets on the phone and he's like, so Daedin, so I'm gonna fight in May-Crown, and well, I thought I'd fight for you. I was like, well then. And I mean, we get along fabulously. You know, we had great fun. We drank a lot of beers, and you know, I watched those guys fight all the time, and that was super fun. We went to a few events, right? And I was like, but Dak, it's, you know, most people say you're gonna win. So are you saying you want me to be your queen? And he's like, yeah, I thought that'd be okay. I'm paraphrasing, by the way. I was like, sure. Why not, right? Seemed like the thing to do at the time. And this was 1985. So I'd been in the SCA for many years, maybe this many years. So that was a pretty quick, but you know, and then here's another story. Like I said, just shut me up when you're done with the stories. So it was the fight practice, the Wednesday fight practice before Crown. And I had just gotten home from school, maybe just a couple weeks before for summer break. So we went up to practice, and I think it was Tira, my sister Tira, and I, maybe, I don't remember. And we went to pizza afterwards, right? And Anharad comes up and she's like, Daedin, is Tack fighting for you in Crown? And I think it was like that next weekend. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, well, God, don't tell anybody because you won't believe what they're saying. I was like, oh no, what does this mean? But apparently I was a chick from Canada who'd never been to an event before. I was his secret Oregonian stash. That was another one. So it was just like, you know, so there were these things and she's like, don't tell anybody. Okay. Anyway, so that was kind of maybe not my most shining moment, but anyway, it's pretty funny. And it, because of course the inlands, you know, we tried the best that we could during the summers to get around to get to other events and stuff, but you know, it was, I guess I just was not well known. I guess
Well,
all the seneschals knew me. You know, I knew, and the kingdom officers and stuff. I mean, I knew all the admin people, but
Well, did he have someone regular he fought for?
that I don't believe he did. No,
So,
he might have in like when I first met him. I honestly I don't really know that we didn't really have much conversation
probably a
about that
better
sort of thing.
question for him.
Secret Dak stories. No, I don't know, but I know that he hadn't had anybody that he'd fought for a little while. And I wish I knew the timeline. You guys would have to look it up. But I was there at the Crown where he was field knighted, and that was. And I didn't really. I mean, I'd met him, but only just a couple times, and so I felt really glad later on that I was able to actually watch his field knighting because that was amazing. It was amazing.
So
The emotion that ran through the crowd was astonishing.
since people didn't know who you were,
Right.
when you processed in with him, like there's, you know,
There were a couple gasps when we walked past the
right.
Madrona tent. No, I'm
And were
kidding.
you sort of like, did you make a whole bunch of new friends that day, or?
You know, that's a good story too. Actually, the friends that I made were the night before. The Gucci's found us because this was not Dak. This is my sister, one or more of my sisters and me, and maybe some of the guys from Lions March. And the Gucci's put on their noise radar and they found us through the noise filter, right? Oh, loudness, we'll go there, and showed up. And we had an absolute knees up, right? And so the next day, of course, Stefano comes up and he's like, I'm not a sycophant. I met you before you were crown princess. Right on, man. So I think, as I remember, there's a picture that I'm looking forward to showing you guys. There were some people that I met at that event that made a big impact on my life later. But it was, you know, it ends up being just like any of those kinds of things are. This is a bit of a blur. I very specifically remember the fights though, because Monty really put up a fight. And also we videotaped it, so I've gotten to look at that. But that last fight between the two of them was absolutely beautiful. Like weak in the knees, kind of beautiful. Dak just was, you could see it just all come together for him. And oh man, it was so great. So, and then after that, it was all just kind of like zzz. Very little of that do I remember after that. And yeah, but then it was kind of an awkward thing too, because I lived in Eastern Washington. There were people who offered support, but it's a little difficult at the time because I was pretty far away. So yeah, but some very nice people did offer, particularly clothing. I could have used a ton more, but at least I got through my coronation looking like a complete scrub, which is great. And although I think Catherine of Hinescroft will never forgive me, she made my coronation outfit, and I, not remarkably, was a little, nervous about being the monarch, and so I stopped eating about a week before coronation. She put the dress on me, and she thought it didn't fit. I thought it looked great, but she's like, "You lost weight." I don't think she ever forgave me.
It's better than it being too tight.
Oh my gosh, yeah, but yeah, so I had to mend that relationship later.
Oh,
She was pretty mad at me.
So should I put some pictures on? Because we have some really cool old. You sent us some really cool older.
Yeah, do you want to? Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
Let me do that.
While she does that, the Hill story has been mentioned.
Oh my God, who asked about the Hill story? Is that my sister?
Kalja.
Kalja. Oh my gosh. Okay. There is my beloved first consort and dear friend of all time. That is Baron Sir Balinor Blackmere, recently stepped down as the Baron of Arnhold. In what is now Artemisia. He's the best. He's the best. He's the best.
I didn't realize that's who that was. That's hilarious.
That's my Balinor. And me in a mullet. That's my mullet picture. Woo! And here are the girls. Okay. So we went up to, so on the far right is Duchess Finja of Northshield. And in the middle, of course, is our beloved Maitresse Anne-Marie. And then there on the left, that's Francesca. And these are my sisters in the SCA. Finja and I went up to an event up in Spokane, and on the way back, we decided that we needed to be a clan. And of course, Tira is my natural sister. And she went to school with Groa, who is also one of my sisters. And then our other sister, Gillian, who disappeared off the face of the earth. So yeah, these are the girls. Look at us. Ooh, Lordy.
Seriously.
Yeah. Oh, and there's more of us. Okay, so you can see Groa, and there's Finja in the back with me, and there's Anne-Marie and Francesca there in the front. And that's when my mullet had grown out. That's my grown out mullet. Oh my God, it's the blue dress. Oh, the blue dress. There are pieces of the blue dress that are held in a reliquary in Wastekeep, just so you know.
Really?
Yes.
Awesome.
That dress. It probably didn't have anything to do with the cut of it, but
you look very fine in it.
Thanks. I don't know what I'm doing with my mouth there, but and there's our darling Balinor again.
Very cool.
I know. Oh, who are these people? Chrissy and Corwin there in the back. And there's His Grace looking super smug about something. And and there's me. And there's the blue dress again. Look at that. The blue dress plus plaid. And yeah, the blue dress was pretty legendary, not just in its epic badness, but just because I wore it all the time because I didn't have any other clothes. My mommy made me that dress. It's a butterick pattern. Oh. And I wore it because my mommy made me that dress. Anyway, the blue dress. I think that must have been, I honestly am not sure where that was taken. It looks kind of
processing into finals. That's what that looks like to me.
Except Corbin wasn't around then.
Oh.
And Christine didn't have her nice cloak until later. Those look kind of like Eastern Washingtonian trees to me, but I could be wrong. I don't know. Anyway,
You would know
there it
better
is.
than me.
The blue dress. And now this is the picture that I was talking about as far as our step up. So after DAC 1, of course, they gave us the Prince and Princess's coronets. And we were invited to have dinner aboard Admiral Stormcrow's longship, which you can see there behind, up on the trailer. And this is where I met Stormcrow. Oh, I loved him so much. And he took us out sailing. I think I have a couple sailing pictures.
Yeah.
He was so nice to me because I'm kind of slightly hydrophobic. He's like, you'll be okay, honey. And I think one of the greatest, of course, I adore all of the medallions because they represent people giving me love and kudos and stuff. But I may be the last person who received the An Tir Navy's Sweetheart gift, which comes with a little heart shape and a long ship in the middle. And he gave me that.
So I have never heard of that before. What is that?
Because they disbanded the Navy shortly after that. Or the Navy was disbanded, I'll say. And so it was something that the An Tir Navy gave to, well, in my case, a hydrophobe who didn't panic. I don't know. They gave it to ladies who they felt were of admirable quality, I guess. And so I really treasure that. I really, really treasure that.
Very cool.
Yeah. Oh, God. All right, everybody, looky here. It's the first An Tir West War. There we are. Torgal is king, Erin is queen.
Torgal looks like he's checking you out.
He is, I believe, checking me out. That actually is why I got a copy of this picture, is because somebody sent it to me and says, hey, look, Torgal's checking you out. And I was like, I was too hungover to notice, thank you. But you'll notice I am wearing the blue dress because that's what I did. And there's Francesca behind me, my sister behind me. So this was kind of an interesting weekend. So I think there was over 120 Ontarians on the field, and there were 11 Westerners, led by Squire Jade. Little baby Jade. He was so cute. And he actually, they had at least one native battle that I remember. But in the native battle, of course, you know, the horde of An Tir descended, and he actually held the field by himself for a number of fights at the very end. Wow. It was freaking heroic. Wow. Cheers to you, Jade. What guy. And then that was also the infamous war where we had a three-prong field presence. We had the king, we had the forces led by Thorin, and the forces led by Dac. So I think Dac being crown prince and also champion, and Thorin being an all-around great guy, and Torgal being king. And so they called to lay on. And I think it was, I'm going to say, and he can correct me, and I hope he's not mad at me, but I believe Thorin's forces jumped the king because it's like, they're 11 Westerners, guys, come on. And so they called, lay on, and Thorin's side jumped, and then Dac's like, well, I'm getting in on that. So he jumped the other side. Treason! And I'm sitting next to Erin, the queen, and she's like, hey, what are they doing? Nobody asked me, man. So anyway, that was pretty funny. That was a great event. We had a good time.
There's
the boat. And there's Steingram and Erin. Oh, and there's Colonel Evan. That is a soul that we miss very much. And also Admiral Stormcrow there. I can't really tell if that's Dac at the rudder. I don't know.
To me.
I was hiding in the front.
So why was the Navy disbanded?
You know? I would rather not say.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I didn't.
It was a decision made by another crown.
Okay. Oh, there she is.
Oh, there's me in the front, being very, trying not to panic. I actually love that picture. It's the most like, I don't know. I think it might be the most heroic picture, partly because you can only see like this much of me, right? And you can't see the fear in my eyes or whatever it is. And the hair, I think the epic hair is pretty good. But that's me hanging out in the front of the longship.
Well, and the prow of the boat is behind you. It's pretty cool.
It was cool. We had, oh my gosh, those trips were so great. So great.
Oops, I didn't quite make it small enough. Every once in a while, my slideshow gets stuck. There we go.
Oh God. Look, there's me.
That's not the blue dress.
Nope. But you know what it is? Lions March Gold Key. Worst dressed queen of An Tir. You're looking at her. That's me.
Oh.
No, I was. I totally was. Like I said, there's a pile of affidavits somewhere. She was the worst dressed queen in An Tir. But, you know, hey, I didn't have 2 dimes to rub together. I'm out in nowhere, Eastern Washington. You know, it was part of the experience. Anyway, that's an An Tir West, or that's an Alpine Pass where it might have been Alpine Pass 1 or 2. And there's me extolling, as only I can do, I guess.
You know, you may be in Gold Key, but you make it look so regal,
Aw,
so epic.
thanks.
Like, ugh,
Thanks.
yeah.
So we have, I'm pretty sure here we have Balinor's in there somewhere. I think we have a little baby, do we have a little baby Dagmar there in the back? Or not Dagmar, Dagar? I think we might have some Sturrock boys there, perhaps. And possibly a de Montel. Is there a de Montel there in the back? I'm not really sure. Anyway, there were a group of them that decided to team up for the war effort, and they called themselves the Brave Guys. And they were. They're very special, and I love them.
Someone wants to know more about the Alpine Pass site.
Who is it?
I forget. Marco wants to know more.
Marco. Marco.
I remembered his name.
So I'm not quite sure why Marco wants to know more about the Alpine Pass site, because that's where we go every year, the family and I, and have our yearly moot. So he knows lots about that. Okay, so you know, honestly, it was organized by Vulkenfeld and maybe also Blathanor, but that we were only at that site for a couple of years, and we were outgrowing it the first year we were there. So then we moved to the Boy Scout camp in Goose Prairie, which is one of my all-time favorite sites ever in the history of mankind. I went from all 4 of the kingdoms that I lived in. I would come up for Alpine Pass because that site was just like beautiful alpine. Oh, just loved it. And we always just had a great time too. So yeah, if he's got specific questions.
I think he just wanted you to talk about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he also wanted to know about the hill story.
Oh God, the hill story. You guys are going to make me tell the hill story shit. Oops, sorry. Yeah, Tira and I, of course, being my natural sister, she and I talk a fair amount. And I was telling him that you'd invited me to do this interview. And she's like, "You're going to tell the hill story?" And I was like, "The hill story?" And she's like, "Oh my God, you don't remember the hill story?" And then it all came flooding back. The hill story. The hill story is only partly mine to tell, but I'll tell all of it that I can if you want.
Yes, please.
Okay. So back in the elder times, it was Dak and I's September Crown. Torgal was champion at the time. And so Tira and I believe Tira and I'm not sure if anyone else was in our tent with us, but maybe Anne-Marie, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, we went down to, and someone's going to have to chime in on where this site is. It's the site that has the lake with the sign that says managed for trophy bass. It's outside of Salem. It's not Eugene. It's not Zumwalt, but it's a site that we've used more than a few times. Anyway, we were there. And the site is apparently completely and utterly possessed by the fairy people, because the geography of the site has some intricacies, which we discovered. So in a hard won tournament, Monty, Eric, became crown prince, which meant that he would be the prince that would, or the king that would represent us at 20th year. So it was very hotly contested, and it was a long day. And by the time we were done, we were pretty done. So needless to say, we may or may not have enjoyed some adult beverages. And the sequence of events, Tara and I couldn't really work out the sequence of events. So I'm just going to tell them the way I feel like they should be told. And I'm going to paraphrase. So if anybody gets unhappy with me, then too bad, they can stalk me on Twitter or something. So what I remember is that we all were gathered within and out front of the Duncow Inn. For those of you who don't know what that is, you should learn about it, because it was amazing and it was always really, really good time. And so we were in there and we were partying hard. And either we got kicked out, which is what I kind of remember, or because I think some people, Steingram, were dancing on the tabletop and kicking over candles inadvertently. And Robert had had enough and he was like, get the hell out of my hand. So we're like, okay. And so we rolled out into the front. And we may or may not have broken up some people politely dancing. I think we just like rolled them over. I don't remember. And then so we were out there rolling around, and suddenly His Majesty did that thing that he does that you should always be concerned when you see where he goes, which means I want to wrestle you. Right? He just
run, don't walk away.
Just run, right? So I knew what side the toast was buttered on, and so I ran up the hill and stood up at the top of the hill. Tara was there with me, and the wrestling commenced. And I think Badger made an appearance possibly, and anyway, shenanigans ensued. And then His Majesty thought it would be a good idea to launch his squire on me and wrestle me, right? So I handed off my necklaces and my drink over to my sister, and she was very nicely handling them. And he just kind of chucks Chrissy at me, right? And I remember kind of catching her, and she's crawling all around me. And I mean, I've got to had Chrissy by, 50 pounds and a head back then, right? And so she's doing her best, and she's squirreling around, and she's trying to get a foothold, and nothing's really happening. And I start to laugh, and finally that gets enough of an edge that she can sort of kick me over. And so wrestle, and then Dak perhaps realizes that I'm the queen, or I don't know what happened, or maybe he just thought it would be fun. So he grabs Chrissy by her belt and heaves her off of me, knocking all of the air out of her little tiny person, just like whoosh, and then she's laying there. I'm like, oh my God. So we're standing there, my sister, myself, and my champion, Torgal, the kingdom champion, standing next to his queen, the queen, right? And we're standing there. She's still got all my stuff. And all of a sudden, it's like, I get this push from my champion. So apparently it's time to wrestle the champion. Well, now I don't remember the sequence of this. I believe what happened was he got himself a can of beer and shook it, and he was trying to open it on me maybe. And so we would tussle, roll down the hill, tussle at the bottom of the hill, run back up the hill, tussle where Terry was, wrestle, try to get the beer open. So we were up and down this hill a few times. Finally gets the beer open, kind of on me, but mostly on him, right? Kind of because we're this, that. And then, as I recall, and again, he can correct me if he remembers differently, I turned to my sister and got my drink, and I just like boosh right in his face. And then I ran because I'm not stupid. So I go running off, run down the hill, tumble down the hill, get up, run, 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 right? And he's after me, and oh, here we go. And then we're at the spigot, and we're with the spigot, right? And then we're back, and we're up the hill, right? And somehow, as a matter of course, I get body slammed by my champion, bless him, thanks, me, the queen. He just kind of picks me up and right. And then, which was hilarious. And then somehow in the process of getting back up, he caught me with his elbow. See, now, if any of that sort of stuff went on today, they'd kick us out of the SCA, but it was the 80s and, it was good times. Anyway, so anyway, this all happens. Meanwhile, we find out that off in a whole nother part of the site, Sir Clifford, who I believe was still Squire Clifford at the time, decides that he needs to relieve himself. So he finds this big ditch behind this huge tree, right? So he very kind of decorously gets in the ditch behind the tree, does his thing, reappears and continues to wander down the road, right? How polite, right? So then, excuse me, then the party somehow tumbles out to in front of where the thrones are set up. Well, by my recollection, this is the first time that the crown had told people that it was period tense on the Eric only. Oops. So anyway, we're out in front of the crown. We're out in front of the thrones with these beautiful tents. It's got to be, I don't know, 1 o'clock in the morning or something, 2 o'clock in the morning. And we're just, And I believe it was Rowena DeManning came out and she comes up to Dak and she's just like, and he's, I'm sorry, man. Okay, we nearly died. That was hilarious. So anyway, we finally things settle down. My sister and I go off to my tent. The next morning dawned far too early, and the only dress that I had was the blue dress, right? Well, getting dressed, right? And Tira's like, what is that? All across my back of my shoulders, this huge contusion, right? And I have a fat lip. So anyway, so I've got the red plaid that you see in all the pictures, and I'm just like, hello everyone, good morning, it is I, your queen. Right? So we're standing there, and Dak and I are looking ridden hard and put up with both of us, right? And I'm looking around for Torgal because I'm super mad at him, right? Hello everyone, and the herald's like, my lords and ladies, and Dak and I are just like, we can do this. We got through An Tir West War. We can do this. And so, so we get up there, right? And court is progressing. All of a sudden, the champion, the alleged champion, kind of leans over the throne and he's like, Daedin, yeah? He's like, so didn't we run up and down in that hill most of the night last night? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, look over there. I look over and it is flat as a billiard table. Absolutely as flat as a billiard table. There is no hill. No hill. None. None. And we will both swear. And my sister too. She was standing at the top of it half of the night. There was a hill. Gone. Also, that ditch that Cliff peed in and the tree he was behind, ditch this big, tree this big.
Wow.
So, I mean, this whole site's full of some sort of weird fairy magic that switches geography. That's the whole story.
If it's Minto Brown Island Park. Does that sound?
It could be, I just don't remember, but it had a sign, this lake managed for trophy bass. That's what I remember. But it's also inhabited by the little people. So that's the hill story. That's the hill story.
Wow.
I know.
All right, should we go back to
Hello.
because I think there were still some more of Alpine Pass War.
Okay. Man, why I got away with any of that crap? Oh, extolling. Oh, look, there he is. So there's me with my grown-out mullet, and there's Aaron, and in between us is my SCA son, Olaf.
Aw.
He was 11 years old, And we got to take him everywhere before they kind of clamped down on that whole thing. And rightly as well, they should. But oh, he was adorable. And he would let you dress him up in anything. That kid's wearing a kilt. How many 11-year-olds that aren't in the SCA do you know you could talk into wearing a kilt? He was the best. So that's our little Olaf. You can also see the Navy Sweetheart medallion in that picture too.
Oh,
there he is again.
Is it the one down here?
Yeah.
Okay.
The lower one.
I'm pointing to it on my screen. It's not helping.
Oh, and there's our Olaf. Anyway, that's on the balcony out in front of the cabin at Alpine Pass. Ooh, this is in Wildsmere. Want to know a secret? I'm wearing gold key again. Different gold key, but gold key. And there's His Grace, looking all heroic like he always does. So we had a war up there at a lake that's name's escaping me right now, a very nice lake up there, not Ponderay. And they'd set up a castle made out of cardboard, and they'd written themselves inspirational messages on the inside, like "No kill I," "Don't peek," "Only the strong survive." It's hilarious. I have pictures. I have actual photographs of that stuff somewhere, but I don't know where. Anyway, so this is Dak and I walking into court, and Dak is extolling. This is Dak extolling instead of me extolling. He was a great extoller too. What a heroic public speaker that guy is. Holy crap.
So, Daedin, I want to understand this gold key thing, because what did you do? Did you like go and like say, "Hey, I need some clothes. I'm gonna like rummage through gold key and find what I like"? Or
yeah. Well, and also I was seneschal at the time,
okay.
so I don't think Gold Key lived at my house. Probably lived at Morgana's house. So I'd just be like, "I'm so tired of this blue dress." They're like, "Here, put this one on."
Pre-event, you would go over and go look at the gold key. It wouldn't be like
yes, no, this is not event
what am I
Gold
gonna
Key.
wear this weekend?
Yeah, this is the group's Gold Key. So this is my lines. Well, back then, Blue Mountain's Gold Key. And I mean, a lot of it was stuff that we had made and donated. So it was kind of like recycling through. Oh, look at this. Look at this handsome friggin' group. Holy crap.
I know, right?
Look at these hotties. Okay, so we have Sir Balinor, Mistress Anne-Marie, my sister Tira, Duchess Finia, my sister Francesca, Duke Tarek, and some chick in the front. That's me. That's me.
Is this your step-up dress?
No, step down.
Step down dress.
Yeah. The worst 12th night gown ever worn by a queen, affidavits to follow. But you know what? I made it. And I was going to wear it.
It's black and gold. I love it.
It is black and gold. Yeah. And this is earlier in the day at our 12th night. And you can see our heirs there, Melissa and Eric, and all the beautiful people. That was, at the time, that was probably because the black and gold was just an experiment. But this is probably, this is not gold key. This is actually a beautiful green kind of Cotehardie. I might even still have that. I don't, I see Onrod there. That might be Thorin in the red cloak with the fur, maybe. I'm not sure. And that might be Oak right down in front, maybe.
And Gerhard in the gold.
Yeah, Gerhard. Oh, that's right. That is Gerhard too. I don't see Amanda. So this looks like a gathering of knights. This might, did we knight him at that? I don't remember. I'm sorry, Eric.
It's okay.
I should remember when I.
It kind of looks like on his way somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a bunch of knights. So. Yeah. Oh God, there it is.
That is shiny.
Dress.
Very pretty in it.
Oh, shiny.
Beautiful on you.
You could cut bread on those collarbones. Dang. And that's Olaf getting recognition for being such a loyal page and son to me. Yeah. LeMay. And here's me. I think this must be a crown tournament or something. It's definitely a West Side event. And that looks like the Navy's sunshade. Maybe. Perhaps. That also is not gold key.
I was going to say, that doesn't look like gold.
That's not gold key. Now, I think this is okay. So Dak's wearing that beautiful, like reddish purple tunic that I just love. I don't remember who made that for him. It might have been his mom made it for him. So that would have been, I think we're swearing in as royal peers. I think that might be us doing fealty as royal peers, because that tunic came later. I don't remember. There's nothing in the picture that's really kind of picking out what event that was, but that's the only thing I have time-wise that would set the stage for that.
It's saying 86 July coronation.
Okay. Yep. And then I left the kingdom after that. Oh, look at all these girls. Look at these pretty girls everywhere. Man, we got everybody in this shot. What a great shot.
Is Maya wearing armor?
I don't.
Thanks.
I think those are just high boots.
I think she's got some, boots on. Man,
So
look
young.
at that. Yeah, look at Anhra in the back there. Doesn't she look great?
She looks the same.
She does. She looks the same. I think she's a vampire.
Yeah, she has a picture in her attic, I'm sure. I'm going to ask her about it when we interview her.
Yeah, everybody looking sharp there.
So where did you go when you left the kingdom?
So after we stepped down, that would have been January 86, and I left in July, that following July, and went to the then Shire, now Barony of then Atenvelt, now Artemisia, of 1,000 Eyes, 1,000 Eyes, the Barony 1,000 Eyes. And they were so nice, man. And in fact, I had gotten in touch with them before I moved over there. And we actually, I helped autocrat an event pretty soon after we got there. That was kind of a sort of a Atenvelt War, sort of, kind of. And a bunch of really, really nice people came over and fought to support me. And that was really great. And we had so much fun. And I met a bunch of great people. It was another one of those events where, like at that very first event, there were just a bunch of people from Artemisia and Atenvelt that I met that ended up being super good pals later on. And that was fun. But it was weird because, there's that whole royal peerage is the only peerage where you check the box and get the thing, right? And then you spend however much of the rest of your life you want to trying to figure out what that means, right? And what it's going to mean for you, and what it's going to mean for your sisters and brothers, and what it's going to mean for your kingdoms and your consort and all of that. And so, I go from being kind of wrapped in the arms of An Tir love to being out in, there wasn't another group in 200, 300 miles, something like that. And I was it. And I had been a royal peer, which is a pretty not very narrowly defined role, for 6 months. I did learn some important lessons, like you don't have to sit at the high table by yourself and have everyone stare at you while you eat by yourself. You don't have to do that.
Oh
my God. People think you know things. Not this beer. So it was just a lot of defining what it meant. And that was a steep learning curve because, people don't just stop looking at you because you aren't ready for them to look at you, right? It's like, you got to get your skates on and off you go. But, you know, I had good support, and Dak was really great about that. I was working at the radio station, and my shift was from 4 to midnight, and I was on the air from 7 to midnight. And so during the breaks or during long songs, I'd call him up, Dak, I don't quite get what any of this means. And he's like, you'll be okay, Daedin. It's fine. You'll be okay. So it was very nice.
Did it feel like people had expectations of you that you just...
Oh, I didn't even feel that way. I absolutely 100% knew they did. It was like there's some pure thing that you're supposed to know that means you're supposed to know about costuming. And I was like, oh God.
Let's go raid
let's go raid Gilkey. It'll be great. You know, it's like I could open a wine bottle with my teeth and no, I mean, you know, I've been fortunate that I've been blessed for a long time with good administrative skills, which comes from my mother, who ran my father's business forever and let me tag along with that. So I had that, but as far as like hard reenactment skills, it's like, oops. So, and I struggled with that a lot. But there were also very nice peers in Aytonville too. I had Brian and Anna, who were very helpful, and Trelon, who I'd known just kind of a little bit from before. We didn't see a lot of them, but when we go to Estrella and stuff, we saw them. And then the people in Loch Salon were super nice, and the people in Arnhold were always super nice, and of course the Thousand Eyes people were super supportive. So it was fine. I wasn't there for a long time. I was only there for a couple years, and then down to Caid, where I finally learned how to sew because they sat on me and made me. And how did they get me to do that after resisting it for so long? They said, because you know, Daedin, someone's going to ask you. It was like, shit. Oh, that's right, that whole peer thing. Darn it. Oh, okay. And so I learned a lot about sewing down there from some awesome people. Was Catherine Giles taught me a lot. And basically down in Caid, of course, everything is so condensed that it is nothing at all to go to someone's house and have a sewing party, or, you know, an event planning party, or take up whatever craft you want to do, or do whatever thing you want to do. It's very easy to get around there and do a lot of things during the week, right? Culturally, it was pretty different for me, but everybody was super nice. I got some good stories from Caid. I went to my first Pensic while I was living in Caid, which there's a picture that people can mock me for if they want. And yeah, so that was good. And then I moved up to the West, which of course is the motherland. So that was very natural. And my sister Tira lived there at the time. So she and I got to spend a lot of time together, which was fun. That was a lot of fun going to events again with her. Because we went for a period of time where we didn't go to anything together, and I missed that. So it was nice to have her back in the car and then back up here to my darling inlands. And then now I'm here back in my ancient habitat of Glamere. So my original habitat of Glamere. So yeah, so that's, I think, for anybody who has not lived in another kingdom, there is a distinct thing that happens when you go somewhere else. And you have a couple ways you can look at it. You can spend your time saying, in An Tir we, and no one will like you, by the way, if you run around doing that. Or you can say, that's a pretty fancy thing. Maybe I'm just gonna take that for myself and carry that along with me, which is what I'm more inclined to do that anyway. I'm inclined to sponge up stuff that I like, stuff that I find enriching in the SCA and stuff, and I'll cart that along with me wherever I go.
Did you bring anything back to An Tir from Artemisia or the West or Caid?
I did.
What'd you bring?
So you know that thing during coronation where everybody puts their hands on each other? I brought that back from Maitenveld,
Very cool.
from Artemisia at the time, because that to me was such a, it's just such a great expression of community and kingdom and unity and friendship with your fellows and stuff. But yeah, the first time that happened to me, I was like, oh, I'm gonna remember this because
like
I like it.
You're literally
You are becoming one.
Yeah,
Yeah, you are becoming one group. Yeah. And then along with your monarchs too, because they join into that too. It's just, it's amazing. Yeah.
and I love looking at pictures of that later and remembering, oh, I swore fealty on Matthias
Yeah.
in that event.
I got a little back rub from Steingrim during that one. Yay. Yeah. But I loved that. That was one of the things that, well, other than of course the friendships, of course, but that was something that I really kept with me from that time in Aidenveld in Artemisia. Yeah.
I love that.
Is there more?
There is more. Should we look at more?
Oh God.
Okay.
But wait, there's more.
Okay. I'm gonna have to let my dog in the room because she's going crazy. Oh, okay.
Oh, there's Penzik.
All-time favorite picture of you, right there.
That's my, I'm the drummer for Poison haircut. Man.
This is a very agender photo. Like you can't tell.
Can't really tell.
Nope.
But you get a great shot of the Navy sweetheart there. You can really see that well in that picture. It's that heart shape with the boat in the middle.
Very pretty.
Yeah.
So is this the one and only time you went to Penzik?
No, I've been twice.
Okay.
At my very first, not event, but first Shire thing in Blue Mountain at the time, I got given a copy of Tournaments Illuminated with a big battle shot from the Penzik Warfield. And I was like, oh hell, I'm going to that for sure. Now it took me a while to do it, but I finally got there. And this is when I was living in Caid, and we were fortunate enough to be able to camp next to the Ontarians. So, I just basically jumped the fence and played with my buddies. But it was the Queen, now Sir Stephen, and myself, and a group of people from Hawaii. And we couldn't have had more fun if we were falling off a log. Man, those people are nice. Those folks are nice. And we just had a great time. Just, oh my gosh, so much fun. And then I went again. Tira and I went again. Oh, it was probably 4 or 5 years later, I think. We met there. And it's much nicer to camp with the Crown. Just saying. Yeah. I think I might have had to have thrown that tent away after Penzik because it was over 100 degrees for about half of it. And by the time we picked the tent up, it was just goo underneath. It was so gross. Oh, look at there. That's my Boudica costume.
And is that Sarah?
It is Sarah. Doesn't she look cute?
She does.
She's so beautiful.
She really is.
And her folks, good friends of mine. Oh, here we go. This is in Lions March when I was patron of Lions March. I'm extolling. I know, don't fall over from shock. Look, she's extolling again. And this was at the Honor War. God.
I'm cheating because you labeled all the photos for me.
Oh, thank God. And so I think we might have a wild Rolf there right in front of us, perhaps. That might
kind of looks like him.
And I think we've got a Louisa there. Isn't that a little Louisa there in the green with the crenellation? That might be a wild Louisa. And
So talk about being royal patron. Like, what did that entail, and how did you get the gig?
well, so I got back to An Tir, I think it was in 91, and moved to Wakekeep, the best barony. Oh, no offense, other baronies, but the world's happiest barony, at least, and loving, and I love them. And I lived there, but of course, right along the way, Morgana and I've kept in touch. And this was just after the point where Tiernan and Miranda had come through, and Jorg was still there, and she'd be able to fill in some other names. And so I think it was in part a way just to formalize our relationship with my home group and the lovely people there. And also because of the nature of geography, it's an area that has a tough time getting taken seriously sometimes, I guess, or even noticed sometimes, although it's not so much, it's not that way as much now. But I felt and was told that maybe I could do some representation for folks, make sure that they were being seen and heard. And so we, excuse me, so we got into that relationship, and then, and that was pretty darn fun, let me tell you. So it gave me a great excuse to come up, a few times a year, to drive up to Lions March and to hang out with them, and kind of, give whatever support I could, and that was great. And it gave us an excuse to have like feasts, and we would give out kind of trinkets and stuff, and we could give people a taste of court stuff, and it's just kind of a nice way to be able to hopefully enrich the experience for them.
Help grow the community.
Yeah. And in the meantime, I got stuff too. So they said, so Daedin, your birthday's coming up. What do you want? And I said, a new car. And they're like, yeah, ain't gonna happen. A pork roast dinner. Okay. Morgana's like, okay, I'll cook another pork roast dinner for you, for Pete's sake. And what else do you want, Daedin? And I was like, I want young people with healthy, strong backs that haven't broken themselves yet to lug all my crap around. And everyone's like, ha, oh, that's great. Yeah. Ha ha. Yeah, well, they gave me 4 people for my birthday, and that would be Marco. So that's how I got Marco. And also Gwen, Duchess Gwen of Artemisia. That's how I got her. That's how I got Friedrich, Lord Friedrich, and some other folks that have kind of come and gone. Now, Friedrich's the only one who kept good on his promise of lugging my crap around. Bless him. Mwah. The rest of them have either damaged themselves or moved on to bigger things. Marco married my niece, and so he managed to worm into the family, and he became my steward. So he's my steward. And this is Master Marco Valentino, if you're not aware, who is my treasured steward. And so anyway, for me, all of that kind of stuff is just relationship building. It's all just like formalizing. Oh, and here we are in the West. Ooh.
I'm gonna say that looks like Brian and Isabella.
That's right. That's exactly right. And if I remember correctly, we were absolutely tanked when this picture was.
I was gonna say Isabella looked
like we're all holding each other up. I think we're. And I think this was at. I don't know if this was actually in the West. It might have been somewhere else.
There's a Checky banner up in the right-hand corner, so it almost seems
maybe an An Tir West tour then. Yeah. But Brian they both used to come up, but Brian used to come up a lot more frequently than she did.
Tell me about your belt, Daedin. You always wear that belt that's in that photo.
Oh, so that was given to me as a bride gift from Duke Tarek when he snatched away my sister Finya. He's like, "Can I have your sister to like be my wifey?" And I was like, "Okay." And he's like, "I've got a present for you." Okay. So that's basically, and I do wear it all the time because it's beautiful. A, and also it reminds me of them all the time. Now, almost everything that I cart around on my person has some sort of story behind it like that too.
I figured that there was, and I mean,
I
for
love
20
that
years
belt.
I've been seeing that belt, 25 years or
I
whatever.
know. I've had it for a long time.
Did
I should know how long they've been married. How long have they been? They've been married for a long time. And they have grown sons, which will produce more of the warrior force of the Mackays.
Did Alfred make your cornet?
No, Dak made our coronets.
Oh, Dak made it. Very cool.
This is the most sacred, the very most sacred. And Alfred, even more so because Alfred wears its pair, but Dak actually cut them both from a single band of silver and made them with his own little hands.
Oh,
I know. It's the best. So, although Alfred, you'll notice Alfred takes much better care of his. His is always shinier than mine.
Yours looks pretty shiny tonight.
Thanks. I had a little time to work on it. Oh God, and here it is. Miranda.
Roar.
I'll never forgive her. No, that's not
so
true.
there's a really cool story behind your lion. Do you want to tell it?
Unless you want to tell it.
I don't want to. It's your story. I just know that
Well,
Miranda spent her reign with the orb in her hand.
she spent some quality hours in this very room right behind me trying to get me on board. And I, you know, as your life unfolds, there are periods of time when you have more energy, and there are periods of time when you have less. There are periods of time when you have, when you feel that you can take on more responsibility, and there are times when you just don't, right? At least that's how it is for me. And she was sort of skirting around the idea, skirt, like she does. And I told her I just didn't really feel that I, at that point, had the energy to do it. Because as much as it's an accolade and all of that is fine, there is no one who can tell me that there does not also come a burden with these things, you know? Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because I don't think I don't think these kinds of things are meaningful if you don't also attribute some responsibility to them, right? Because they represent an action or a mindset or a commitment, and that doesn't go away when you get the thing, right? You guys know that just as well as anyone would. So anyway, back to skirt. Anyway, so we were at Barron's, or we were at Barron's Ball. Is it Barron's Ball or Springfest? No, it must have been Barron's Ball. It was Barron's Ball. Belnor was there. Okay, so there's a big mushy emotional thing, you know, because he is honestly one of my dearest friends. Brigade is there. Also very dearest friend. I'm surrounded by Wastecape, full of like the love fest of Wastecape, which is Love Fest, and other inlands folks. Miranda, who started in the inlands, and I see her, you know, from across a crowded court, and she's got the orb, and she's like ding, ding, bouncing the orb, right? I'm like, oh. And finally, something just cracked, you know, the dam broke. And I said, okay. She's like, she turns to Tiernan,
We're doing this.
we're doing it. And he's like, what? Yeah. And then Bridget, of course, was in on it. Her expression in that picture is just so great. So great. And so, I mean, it was really such an honor, right? But more so, it represented a bit of a milestone because I found that the cup had enough in it at that point to take it on, which says a lot, because there have been a lot of times when the cup's been pretty empty, right? So it felt good that I was back up to a place where I felt like I could kind of embrace that. And and then the medallion's beautiful too. Oh gosh, and the scroll's really kicking. So yay, that was neat. And then I had not really kind of paid much attention, but then I bumped up on the OP too, and it was like, holy crap, what's this all about? Geez. So now I don't even know where I am on the OP anymore. It's like, you guys keep changing things. I'm a traditionalist. I don't get it. So anyway, but that was the story behind that, is that she wore me down. So bless her.
Persistent thing that she is.
She is persistent.
So one of the we're going to talk about it. One of the things that happens in the SCA is you become a well-known personality and stories start to be told about you.
Yeah. Yes, they do.
And, one of the stories that I have heard about you for 20 years is that Crowns keep wanting to offer you membership in the Order of the Pelican, and you are not into it. And I think that ties into your feeling of having a full cup or an empty cup and taking on.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of it that has to do with that. A lot of that whole how much is in the cup, right? But I think also there's another piece to it too, and that's so back in the day, there I was being a seneschal, wearing gold key, right? And then I was a seneschal and a queen because I didn't give up my job, and wearing gold key, right? And then there I was in Aidenveld trying to figure out what this was all about, right? And you know, it's a position, royal consorts who are not other peers, right? If you go into being a royal consort and get through that, then you have to decide for yourself, okay, so what does this mean? And it can run an entire line of things, all the way from nothing, I'm out of here, right, to hang yourself from the cross, right? And it's going to range all through that. And so for me, when I think about it, when I think about it and when I thought about it at the time, and you know, through that whole period of time up until now, it was about what sort of things do I feel I can represent in the order? What kinds of things, what direction do I want to move in the order? What kinds of things can I bring to the order, and what things can I demand of the order? And then all of that, and the outward facing side, which is what are the expectations on me as a royal peeress, right? What's the expectations on the orders? We actually have 2 orders. And all of that sort of, you know, that's a pretty big conversation to have. And for me, what it boils down to is I have a very strong suspicion that if it weren't for a phone call and a glorious afternoon, both of things initiated by someone else, that I probably would have been pretty aimless in the things that I would have done. But to stand with somebody who is renowned for integrity and truthfulness and being steadfast and being goal oriented, things that I really admire and try to emulate. So basically since then, you know, ever since he called me up and he won the crown for me, it's been a little bit of what would Dak do? But Dak and I are very different people. So it's like, okay, how would I spin what Dak would do? Right. So, and, you know, it's not all just been like it's not like I'm trying to pay a tab or something, part of it is I am, I guess, trying to pay a tab that I owe, but part of it also is he did all these things up into that point, right? And now it's up to me, because once you step down, it is up to you, you know, as a consort or a royal peeress or any kind of peerage. Once that thing happens to you, it is up to you. Hopefully you'll have as nice a support as I have, but it's up to you. And so I just don't feel that the kinds of service that I do, I mean, I do what I can because I have certain skills. You know, I'm an admin geek and I have those skills. I'm a performer, you know, both by trade and by inclination. But honestly, if it wasn't for that phone call in that day, I just don't see that I would have been a peer. I don't see that I would have made it up on my own, because all of it is attached to that vision that I have of my royal peerage. And then there's the whole, you know, that's been a big plate. You know, I've put a lot on myself and I've had a lot put on me. And I've also had tremendous support, but it's like, could I take on a whole nother plate of peerage? And the answer is, man, certainly not at the times when it came up. You know? So she's been through some things, and it's just like, you know, at that point, no. Because, oh my God, how awful would it be if you took that on just to get people off your back, right? It's like, that's terrible. You know, that's so not what it's about. So it's two-pronged. It's that whole, I do my thing because I'm a royal peeress, right? But also, I don't know that I could take on any more. There it is, guys. I hope it answers questions.
No, I think it's your answer, so it totally answers the question.
Okay.
So.
And I think one of my goals with this interview series is to kind of take these legends and these big stories
and hack them apart. No.
And make them, you know, I mean, you're a person, you're a human with feelings, and I think that people understanding that and seeing heroes as people is really important.
Yeah, I had an interesting experience after having been gone for so long. I came back to An Tir, you know, years after. It was what, 7 years, 6-7 years after. And there was a cadre of people that very much preserved me in amber from 1985, right? You know, they just wanted me to be 1985 girl, right? And it's like, you know what? I don't have to wear a gold key anymore. And I've already shot all my liver credits, so I'm not going to drink that hard anymore. You know, it's like, so, but that was weird for me because it got very kind of fishbowly for a while. And I didn't like that at all. You know, it's one thing having everybody in Thousand Eyes What You Eat. It's a different thing having that whole sort of kind of encased in amber. You can't change. We don't want anything different. We just want the Daedin that we knew before you left, you know, and that was a struggle. You know, that was a struggle. So I hope that people will be forgiving of me. Sorry, I just can't drink that much anymore. I don't want to get another fat lip.
To grow up, I think. Well, do you want to look at the rest of the pictures?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Let's do it.
Thank you for going down that alleyway.
That dark path. Yeah, you're welcome. No, you're welcome. Oh God, there it is. Oh, the window.
How surreal is that when you go to the event?
I can't. Oh my God. Well, you know, Marco can tell you how surreal it was because I spent the whole time bitching to him about it. But it was just like, and you know, I have to tell you, Rivkin, you know, it was worse. Because all the people on the other windows that I was on were all dead.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, that's uncomfortable. I think other than that whole it's me thing, I think this is one of the coolest things. I loved looking at everyone else's. I was uncomfortable looking at my own. But isn't it great? I'm like, yeah. I mean, just the way that they created them and how great they look, how great these windows look. Those guys worked like they worked like crazy to make the hotel look so nice.
And it's ongoing. I mean, they're still
I
doing
know they're still doing it, which I think is fantastic. I love it. I love it.
Marion is saying that you were not surrounded by dead people.
Okay. Again, it was my perception. All of this was my perception, and I'm paraphrasing everybody. I'm sorry.
A lot of them are dead.
Some of them are. Yeah.
Well, we've lost a lot of really great people.
Yeah, we really have.
Alas. Oh, look, there's me proselytizing again. That's that grand thing.
Cool.
I'm speaking Gaelic in that picture. I know.
There we go.
I think my Gaelic's pretty awful, but there's no one around who can really correct it, so I'm okay. I'm just going ahead.
Go with it.
Yeah. Oh, and here's Glamere, and there's Francisca, my darling friend Francisca.
Baby Niles.
Mhm.
Very cool.
That's a baronial thing here locally.
Niles is going to be 13 this year.
Not crazy.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my God, the girls. So that is her ladyship Gisela. That is Marco's lady.
And she's your niece.
She's
Like,
my niece.
Real life niece. That is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know
And
that.
then there's Duchess Gwen, also is she my cousin? I think she's my cousin, or is she my niece? I think she's my cousin. They might both be my cousins. You'd have to ask them. The family tree gets a little confusing to me sometimes.
Look at all the amber in that
Because
picture.
I'm old. I know, isn't that hot? Look at us. So this was at Balinor's knighting in Arnhold. Well, actually it was outside of Loch Salon. And Gwen hosted us. We stayed in the Daedin, which you can see there in the background. My big, beautiful tent that I love. God, we had a good time. So Gisela got kidnapped for this event. I was planning on going, and at the last minute, like within 2 days of us leaving, I spoke with her and Marco and said, hey, you want to come with me? She's like, sure. So we spent 4 days driving there and back. It was awesome. We stayed with Balinor and his lovely lady Tegan, who I also adore. But yeah, that's us all duded up.
Very cool.
Oh my God, 12th night. Ronvig, Gwen, my darling Morgana, me looking all sweaty. We were having, I think this might have been Phelan's vigil party, maybe. 3 awesome ladies there. Just the talent was totally sucking all the oxygen out of the room because the 3 of them are all amazing.
True.
They are.
Oh, there's the party tent. And a few of the guys, I can't really tell who all is back there. So these are some folks from out in Grays Harbor that I met up with, and we got to spend some time together. This, I believe, is Sport of King. It's at the Sport of Kings site.
That looks like it.
But I don't remember if this is actually Sport of Kings or not. But I decided to make a Roman style party tent, so I did. Can't sew costumes, but apparently I can make a tent. Go figure.
It's all straight seams. You can do it.
Most of my clothes look like tents, so it's okay.
Oh.
The beauty of Celtic. See, look at that. It looks like a tent with some cute brooches. I love chitons. And I love steer car. And I love to watch him make out with his wife, because there is nothing sexier than a man who loves his wife.
I agree with that.
I love steer cars
something
so
really
much.
Sexy about a man that openly loves his wife like that.
I think I met steer car when he was about 18 too. Solo baby steer car.
I was gonna say
He's done so well. Yeah, he would have to. He would remember more so than I. But yeah,
I was surprised when we interviewed Sven last week, he said that he and Steerhart were like best friends and went to events together all the time.
All the time. Yep, those two were inseparable. It was great. It was about the time I was out of Kingdom for a lot of that, but I was around for a little bit of it. And when I would come back to visit, of course. Yeah. There's the moot. So this is that site where the picture with Aaron and my son and I, this is looking at the front of that. And this is the site up in Chinook Pass.
And the moot is something you do with your family, like annually, right?
Yeah. Tamaris, look at her looking all styling.
Yeah.
I miss her.
And Charlie.
Little baby Charlie, Magnus.
Cool. Okay.
And there's the fam. So Alfred, through no fault of his own, got adopted by me as my father. Again, don't look too closely at the tree, at the family tree, because it sort of jumps around a little bit. Anyway, but there's all my beautiful brothers, and there's my foster mother, and there's my dad.
Aww.
I know, I love them all.
All right, I'm gonna stop.
That veil on Elfrida just looks amazing.
It does, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
She's got a ruffled veil too that she wears.
That ruffled one, ooh, yeah, that one's pretty amazing.
So something else that people asked about was stargazing. Talk about stargazing.
Who asked that?
I'm gonna have to scroll back.
Oh God, it's probably Marco. He knows all the stories.
It probably was.
So we were at a ducal war, and my modern father showed up because he was on his way to a golfing trip, and he always thought the SCA was kind of an interesting thing. And so I had this old 1972 RV that was like a Kleenex box on wheels, It was amazing. And so we were at the site and Dad stayed with me in the RV. And Dak was not able to attend until the next day. And we were king and queen at the time. And so he showed up, so anyway, Dad had a great time. The McFlandrys got him completely hammered. He waved a claymore around, and Robert and Duncan just like totally took him under their wing. And I think Monford was in on it too. And then the next day, Dak showed up, and he must have fought in the war. And they had set up these like sewer culverts into big cement towery things, and they built like a platform on top, and they had foam war rocks that they were chucking off the top at people during the war and stuff. Great, right? And I think they had a ladder or something. And then they made the mistake of leaving the ladder where drunk queen, king, champion's lady could find. So Dak and Torgal and Aaron and I get up on top of this, maybe Chrissy too, get up on top of this thing. We're all just like completely liquored up, right? So finally we decide we should probably get down before we fall down. And anyway, so we get down, and it's a beautiful, very dark night, and we're out in the middle of the warfield, right? And we're drunkenly, hooping it up. And all of a sudden, up out of the grass, the tall grass, we see a finger just pointing up out of the grass, and this very low murmuring. And then a bunch of other fingers point up from the grass, and all his hands go up. More hands go up. More, and we're like, what the hell is this? And so we're like, well, I don't know, but we're going to check it out. So we flop down on the ground next to these people, and they're doing in the field real-time astronomy. It was so cool. They're like, and there's la 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 la. And there's la 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 la. I mean, they're lucky we didn't walk right on their faces because we're all hammered, but it was so great. And I think it was, I wish I could remember who it was that was holding the class. He did a lot of it. He did it in the inlands too. Was it Artemis? Oh, I can't remember. Anyway, but yeah, so that was the stargazing. Drunk people. Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah.
Eduardo wants you to talk about getting stopped at the border because you left things in Canada.
Oh, actually, that's not exactly how that worked. By the way, I gave him as a word of arms, just saying.
He
said
mentions that as well. Yes.
I know. He's my fault. At least I claim him.
It's your fault. Well, thank
I
you.
wish. So our 12th night was up in Vancouver, which was great for Melissa because obviously, they were very well ensconced there, and so she got lots of support, and they were very super happy about that. Now, I don't remember. No, I do remember. We did not go up Friday night for 12th night because, we didn't. Neither. I mean, Dak and I both worked, but we didn't have any money. It's like we never had a dime. I have another story about that. And so we went up Saturday morning early, and it was me in the Rampage, and Dak might have had his dad's station wagon, maybe, and he had the Thrones, I think. Anyway, somehow that worked out. And we get up to the border, and we're about at the same time. I can't say that we were early enough for Dak's liking, but we weren't super late. I'd had some delays at my house and stuff, but we got up there, and we were there in good time, right? And I don't know if he had a moment of exceptional truthfulness, being a very truthful person, but somehow he let slip that he was leaving the Thrones up there. And so they made him stop, totally unload his car, searched everything. He, well, you don't know, but I know that when you see this, and you see Dak doing this down by his sides, just don't know. And he's just like, just go to the site. Okay, honey. So I get in the car and I just like go. Right. We get on site. I get in. And people come around and we start doing the royal thing, and I'm like, His Majesty may be a little delayed. We're not going to wait. We're just going to go ahead. And they're like, but we have, Knights Council. We can't, talk to a mere girl about Knights Council. And I was just like, we're just going to talk. And then for some reason, I think it was in Knights Council, I'm not sure. It was like peers that no one had seen in 15 years showed up and had something to say. And so we ran so late. And Dak finally got on site. He wasn't that much delayed, but oh my God, he was fit to be tied. And so was Torgal. And so, and the peerage meetings are just going on, and we're trying to move things along. And it's like, oh my God. And Eric and Melissa are just like, what the hell is the holdup? We're like, oh my God, everybody's got something to say. We can't make them stop. Da, 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 da. And so as a side note, my ex-husband showed up that morning at my house and said, I'd like to come with you. He's never been to an event ever. He just decides he's going to show up. And I'm like, well, I'm going to be up in front of a crowd holding hands with a guy that you don't know. And this may not be necessarily the best time for you to do this. And he's like, but I just want to be with you. And I was like, you will not be with me. You will be in the audience. Oh, and I'm like, okay. So after all of this kind of emotional management, after all this emotional labor, you find me in the bathroom, and I'm just like, I don't even want to go out there. I'm so done. They're all like, people are like, everyone hates us, right? The dinner was super late. Court just went super late. Everything was a disaster. And I'm wearing lame. It's just like,
the dress was fine.
no, thanks. But it was like, seriously, I was in the bathroom going, I don't even want to open the door. I just want 2 minutes. I just don't want to walk out there. So anyway, so when things go wrong, and yeah, that was why we got stopped at the border. It's because we were going to leave the Thrones up there, and they were having a huge timber dispute. It was the 80s, so it was right in the middle of the timber wars, and Canada wasn't having any of that timber stuff. So yeah, what a mess. I got food poisoning.
Oh God.
No.
Yeah. I was in my my waist cincher for so long that I was bleeding. By the time I took it off, I'd rubbed myself raw on both sides. I looked hot though. I'll suffer for my art, right? Anyway. Okay.
Down experience was not ideal.
What?
That was your
Stepping down.
stepping down, not ideal.
Well, having said that, watching Melissa and Eric come in, particularly Melissa, she looked great. Her dress was amazing. Everybody was involved in their court too, which was great for them because it was a real opportunity and the first time. And so seeing that was terrific. That was really something. Because, even if everything that led up to it on our part was a disaster, the fact that she got to enjoy her step up, even though, it was super late and all that other crap, was really terrific. That was a great part of it. And they all look terrific. Yay.
So that must have been like pre-12th nights where the crowns got comped rooms, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, and just to add insult to injury, they screwed up our reservations. We'd booked a bunch of rooms with 2 beds and they gave us a bunch of rooms with 1 bed.
Oh.
Like, oh. Yeah, I just walked away and I think I turned it over to Anne-Marie to deal with, or maybe Tira. It was just like, I'm done. I gotta go.
Oh.
Yeah. It happens.
Yep, definitely.
Horrible.
I hope that's the story that it's probably not at all the story that Eduardo wanted to hear. The train wreck. No. I remember the court where we gave him his award of arms was super fun and the food was great. That was a good one.
Nice.
Are there any other awards that you were able to give during your reign that I mean, all of the awards that you give are meaningful.
Yeah.
I feel like this question is a trap and I should stop asking it.
No, it's okay. I think the answer is you there's no way you can choose. We did we gave Torgler's Laurel. That was pretty freaking sweet, but that because his personal friend. I would have to say, actually, I'm going to say something that's a little weird about that. I think at the time I felt that maybe it would seem a little weird to give some awards to people in my family or on my retinue, like awards of arms. I'm pretty sure they all got forget-me-nots. Most of them did. And I really regret that because my sister Tira, who was in the SCA and participated for ages, never even got an award of arms. And I should have freaking given it to her, if for nothing else, that she was always so nice to everybody, and just was such a great example. So I think that to me it comes back to me sometimes that that's something I wish I had done. But as far as the ones that I gave, oh my gosh, it's just the experience of giving awards is just it's so deeply meaningful. It's the best part by far of being royalty, like bar none. I don't know that you could ask somebody what the best part of being a royal is and not have them mention that, because it just is so deeply a part of what you get to do, and it's just like it's the best. I loved it.
Were there any traditions that you put in place while you were queen?
Dak started the whole period tense on the Eric thing. I can't think of anything particularly that we did. It was more after I stepped down I started doing stuff. Yeah.
Which is epic. I mean, you found a way to use your powers for good and to really carve a role for yourself as a royal peer.
Yeah, I hope so. And I think part of it too was giving a place for the royal peeresses, well, the consorts, I shouldn't say royal peeresses, but the consorts, giving a place for them to have a voice for good, not just me, but any of them who also chose to do that. You know, we kind of got organized and got together, and I think that that was helpful, because I know sometimes people have remarked to me, and I felt the same way when I stepped down, particularly without another peerage. You step down, and all of a sudden you don't know how people are doing or what's going. It's like, did so and so, or they, you know, how did their masterwork turn out, or you know, how so and so coming along with whatever it is that they're doing. And although we're all very careful about not discussing particulars of candidates, we have, because of our positions, we have an opportunity to discuss them a little more freely than you would in other settings, you know, without going into too much specifics. You can ask someone, have you, you know, is so-and-so doing okay? Are they, you know, can we support them? And that I think that's great. That ability to communicate as a group is really valuable. At least it was to me.
What are some of the things that in An Tir that the members of the Order of the Rose, I'm trying to say it the right way because we're trying to keep gender out of it now.
Yeah.
Do as a group that you're particularly proud of?
Well, I strong-armed Ludvika into cooking a dim sum that was out of this world. That was pretty awesome. I hope she's forgiven me. Anyway, that was great. We did have the tents that we set up for a while, but logistically that ended up being kind of a fail. But I thought that the effort that we made as orders to encourage people to pay a little more attention to if newcomers were getting treated okay, and if they were sitting in the rain or baking out in the sun, maybe you should invite them in, you know, and that seemed to catch on pretty well. Working on some regalia pieces, that seemed to be pretty fun. I think the main thing is the networking that having those meetings promoted. That felt really good to be able to, you know, bring people together. And because not everybody in the orders are interested in doing the same kinds of things, but there's usually one or two people that are interested in doing some stuff that's what you want to do. So that networking to find people, I think that worked out pretty good.
And as an order, you give the belated rose.
Yeah, the belated rose. Yeah, which was fine until they snuck one on me. You can't trust anybody in this kingdom. Jeez. And you know what I love about that is Torgal made the medallion for that, and it's just beautiful. Beautiful. It's one of my favorite things. But they snuck it on me, and I was mad too because I was the secretary, and they're like, "We're going to do a belated rose." So I said, "What do you mean we're going to do a belated rose? I'm in charge of getting all that worked out. Nobody told me." They're just like, "Shut up and kneel." I was like, "Oh my god, I'm a dork." Such a dork. Anyway, but that was pretty funny. But yeah, the belated rose, and I think that that particular institution, that ability for us to recommend people for that it's a very unique Ontarian thing. The other kingdoms don't organize as an order, or at least they didn't. I would hope that they would, but it was something that we specifically did, and it has a great history too. So that was always fun. Can you
tell us about the history a little bit?
I can tell you what I think I remember as the history. So I'm not going to be able to remember names, but someone from the West came up and stayed with someone. Princess. It was a queen of the West or a princess of the West came up and stayed with Princess Fiona, maybe, back in the Principality days, I believe, but it may have been sooner. Or it might have been, oh God, Alfred might know maybe. Anyway, they came up and they stayed with them and they had a terrific visit and they had a great time at the event. And then some weeks went by and a bouquet of roses showed up on the princess's doorstep with a thank you letter. And she was very touched by the experience of that nobility that they showed and that grace and that hospitality and all of the wonderful things. And so in honor of that, she decided that we, as orders, would bestow a belated rose on people who we felt were exemplars of courtesy and grace and all of that sort of stuff. Great story.
That is a great
Sorry, I don't have more details. I have them written down somewhere.
Great story.
I think. Were you going to say something, Rifkin? No. Okay. And then someone is saying also the riderless horse.
The riderless horse. The riderless horse, I think that was a thing before I left the kingdom, but it certainly got developed while I was out of kingdom. And then when I came back, that sort of manifested. And that was not something that I was as much involved with, although for a while I think I kept the list, but that was a spreadsheet. It's a spreadsheet, give it to Daedin, she loves spreadsheets. And then, but that's been more an effort from Anharad and some of the other gals. Although we've done some fundraising around that too. Another thing we did was at the 30th anniversary, we sponsored a tournament, and we made like, well, they weren't belts, so can't really call them that, but they were just like sashes. Yeah, like a fabric baldric with the Ladies of the Rose insignia on it from the Belated Rose. And we sent everyone out at 30th year to have a big old tournament, and then we got to give them those, which meant that I was sitting in my dad's RV on site sewing those onto them all hours of the day and night, which was fine with me because, you know, I'm kind of a creature of the night anyway. So I sat in the Emery bunked with me, and since she taught classes and ran the classes all week, she's like, "Can I stay with you because you have a shower?" I was like, "Yes."
They didn't have showers at 30th year?
No, not so much. They might have had a few, but it was at Clark County before they'd done the upgrades. And so, but also, you know, she had to be up at the absolute crack of dawn, and she wanted a reliable shower whenever she wanted. And I was fine to have a roommate.
I get that.
She's an exceptional roommate too. So that was all good.
So you talked earlier in the interview about growing up in sort of a singing family.
Oh yeah.
And that's one of the things that you're also really well known for is being part of that group that sings sea shanties around the fire. And
sea shanties 2021, yay! We're hip again, kids.
It's crazy.
I know, I love it. Well, so again, Tira was the serious singer. And I trained, but I also was more of a filthy casual than she was, you know. I sang like jingles for radio commercials, and she gets so mad at me. She's like, "Why are you getting paid? I'm the artist." I'm like, "I don't know, honey. That's how the world works, you know." To get mad at me. And so I trained for quite a while, but I didn't really think that it was going to be something that I would actually study in college, because that just kind of wasn't really my thing. And so and also there's a bit of the trained seal thing about being a formal singer that I wasn't really as enamored with. Tara can just do that. She was actually in a premiere opera down in the Bay Area. It was the North American premiere of it. And not 2 hours before that, we went to a tamale place and stuffed our little faces. And then she just went and sang, you know, she did the same. She sang in Carnegie Hall a couple of years ago. She did the same thing. It's like, I think we ate afterwards. But anyway, it's just like, I sang for my high school graduation, and I didn't eat for a week beforehand. I mean, I just, and apparently singing gigs and coronations are my thing. But she, she can sing at funerals. There's no way I could sing at funeral. She just has that ability to let the art just kind of flow out of her without any sort of stops. And I'm very stoppy. So I decided, and also Dak was always, he was always on about how he couldn't sing, right? But he loved it. And it's like, you know what? Nobody should ever tell anyone not to sing. It's like you just stand up and you sing your little brains out. And if people don't like it, well, the heck with that crap. So let's sing some sea shanties where everybody can join in and we can enjoy the love of singing and the passion for making music. And if anybody gives a crap about it, Torgal will bust them right in the mouth and then they'll have to go into court like this the next day. So, anyway, I jest, but I feel really strongly about that. I feel really strongly that that nobody gets to tell you if your music is any good or not. I mean, they do. If you want to make a profession out of it, you should probably be pretty good. But if you want to hang around and have a couple beers and sing a sea shanty at an SCA event, then you should just darn well do that. So,
Well,
that's
you've
what I
always
do.
made it a very welcoming place. I mean, you and Fiak.
Oh, I know. Fiac's so great. Well, good. Well, I hope it is. I mean, I think, unfortunately, I, I can't sing anymore, but it's still great to be there and encourage other people to do it. So, and you should get up there and sing. It's the year of the sea shanty. So everybody learn 4 more shanties and we'll sing them around each other next time we get to be
My
around.
son, I can hear him upstairs playing Minecraft and singing sea shanties, and
I
it's
know.
so weird.
I know. It's
I
so
didn't even know
great.
that was a thing. Is that really the year of the sea shanty?
Yeah, it's just been a TikTok thing that's kind of taken off, but it's
I'm
been
so
awesome. It's been awesome. You should, yeah, get on YouTube and watch awesome sea shanty groups, and
okay.
then we'll be all, like I said, we'll be all practiced up for when we can actually do it in person, right?
And bass singers too are like blowing up on TikTok. It's crazy.
Avi Kaplan, Kaplan. I've been following that guy since he was in Pentatonics. I love him. He's the best.
Sorry.
Oh, we totally went off, didn't we?
I'm over here like.
I got nothing. Fine.
Anyway.
We rein it back in. Are there any other stories that you wanted to tell tonight?
I do have a story I want to tell. Yeah, we haven't hit on it, but I'm going to tell you. So I get asked where I got my title, my alternate title, ban-Iarla. So in Scots Gaelic, Iarla is the term that the Earls of the Orkneys use. So it basically is like sort of a Gaelicization of a Norse word, Jarl, right? They don't have J's in the language, so it's Iarla, but it is Iarla, which we tend to think, I think, is more of a feminine, but that's the male. And there are some Iarlas out there in the SCA. So I tasked my Black Lion Herald. This is back when the Black Lion had to do a lot more individual work, like come up with the Queen's arms and stuff like that. And so I tasked him to look into some alternate titles. And I said, let's see if we can do something more early and maybe more ethnic. And so he ran off. So my Black Lion was Wilhelm of Westphalen, the late Pickrate, who was a beautiful, beautiful man, and we are going to miss him so much. But he, particularly when I was queen, he was always just so polite and put up with my shenanigans. And he just was so generous and a lot of fun to be around and always a great conversationalist. And so I'm sitting at home and the phone rings. The story has some language, by the way. I just should probably warn you now.
Language is awesome. Bring it.
Okay. And I pick up the phone and it's Wilhelm. And he's like, Your Majesty, I've done some work and I just want to share what I've come up with. And I'm like, okay. He goes, well, I've got a couple things. I have a Scottish or kind of Scots Gaelic-ish, and then I have Irish. So I think you're really going to like the Scottish one. And I was like, well, that's good because that's what I pretend to be in the SCA. And he's like, so it's ban-Iarla. And I was like, man, that sounds great. What does it mean? And he's like, ban means girl and Iarla means count. So what do you think? And I'm like, oh man, I love it. And he's like, there are a couple different ways to spell it. So we'll have to kind of get that worked out and that'd be great. And I was like, well, so what's the Irish one? And he's like, and I'm like, are you okay? And he's like, now keep in mind that this is the guy who wouldn't say shit to the queen if he was in it up to here. I mean, he was just super deferential and polite. And I was like, and I'm like, you can tell me. He's like, no, I really can't. I'm like, well, why not? He goes, well, I'll spell it for you. It's CUNT. And I went, ah! He went AOIS. Ah! He's like, ah! Needless to say, I have yet to meet anyone in the SCA who's chosen to use the Elder Irish form of the title. So it's ban-Iarla. Yeah. Nobody needs to plant that sort of seed in anyone's mind, right?
It is now planted in mine.
I know, look out. Yeah. So there you go. When you step down, shots, you can be the first Irish countess.
You can claim that and own it and take it back.
Oh my God. Anyway, so in honor of our darling pick rate, that's my story of how I got ban-Iarla.
I love that.
Thanks. Thanks for letting me tell it.
Okay. Well, I think then we're going to conclude.
Okay.
Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I know it's a little outside your comfort zone, and I just really appreciate it. You've told so many really cool stories tonight.
Oh, thanks. Well, thank you so much for asking me again. The whole camera thing really is not my jazz, but it's been really, really great talking to you ladies. And I think what you're doing is really terrific too. Thank you.
Believe it or not, the camera's not my jam either. So.
Next time we'll just like put up icons or something of ourselves, right? There, Morgana wear there, that'll do it.
Won't be puppy dogs. So this weekend we have a very special sisters interview to accommodate the Lockcock people, and it's Sir Vitale, and he is an artist. He's a laurel and a pelican as well as a knight, and he does amazing jewelry, and he should be very, very interesting. And do you want to talk about Wednesday?
Yeah, and then Wednesday I've got Count Brian Winterbourne, I think of Artemisia. He is I didn't write it down. He's currently a landed baron. And then next Wednesday we have Anissa.
Yeah, Anissa, who is amazing, like just an amazing costumer, equestrian, and person. I mean, she's.
I want to see lots and lots of pictures on the horse. Lots of horse pictures. Her horses.
Get on her about that. I don't think we have any pictures yet.
Oh. Yeah, and traveling musician too.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. They do so much to enhance the ambiance.
Ambiance.
So,
anyway, thank you again. It's really been a pleasure, and thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Bye. Be safe, everyone.
Bye.